Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Secretary, good to see you. And you mentioned that we do not have unlimited resources, and the Chairman mentioned something wisely, said that this is about a prudent trade-offs and resources. I'm sure all three of you would agree with that. Also, you'd agree that, in part, you're here to help us make those prudent trade-offs in terms of resources. Well, some facts that we've had over recent hearings are, as you've just heard from our shipbuilding plan, we're probably $2 to $4 billion shortfall annually. OMB says that currently, based on the track we're on, we're probably looking at about 270 ships in the Navy. We know the Chinese now have 290 ships. We know we've got a $3 billion shortfall on the maintenance needs at our shipyards if we're to maintain our ships. If we can't maintain them, we can't get to the goals that we have. We know from testimony we had yesterday we've got an $18 billion shortfall in our F-18 strike fighters, but assume that's too high. Let's take a third of that and just say $6 billion. The other thing we know that China's gone ahead of us now in the number of ships that in their Navy. They've increased their military spending again by 14.9%. They've got 128 acts of cyber aggression per minute tied to Chinese internet sites. They've destroyed a PRC weather satellite. They're developing kinetic and directed energy weapons for ASAP purposes, and they account for 93% of the global supply of rare elements used in technologies, in particular guidance systems for missiles. And yet, the White House National Security Council that worked with you in developing the QDR downgraded China to a priority 2 level for intelligence against the protest of our intelligence chiefs because of an allocation of resources. Now, the reason I ask you that is because yesterday Admiral Mullen also talked about moving a carrier to Mayport, Florida. And he based it on this strategic dispersal plan. And in the strategic dispersal plan, it was based on three things. First of all, the possibility of an accident. Well, for an accident like that to occur, we're talking about a 1 mile by 60-foot high debris pattern. Just isn't going to happen. Second thing was natural disasters. And if we could put up on the screen this plan, that is a site and a chart of hurricanes hitting Hampton Roads, which could be a natural disaster. Now, if you'd put up chart 2, that's a site of them hitting Mayport. And it's a huge difference between the two of them, so it's not a natural disaster. So the third thing is a nuclear attack that could happen. But if that risk there is for a nuclear attack, I'm far more concerned about the 1.7 million people living in Hampton Roads than I am with the carrier, and maybe we should be allocating dollars and cents to beefing up our sensors and a preventive attack there. So my question for you now, Madam Secretary, allocate for us, if we have those limited resources, if I've got that shortfall that I'm looking at in shipbuilding, in maintenance needs, in our strike fighters, and I can't do the intelligence needs that I need for China, and then I'm talking about as much as $1 billion to Mayport, allocate for me the priority between those items if we have limited dollars, or do we just do as the chairman, I'll tell you, he did, yes, he just punted it. And basically when you punt it, it means it's just raw political power as opposed to an analysis of what we do. How would you allocate those priorities of spending needs in the items that I've just listed for you?
Sir, I would come at this by saying first and foremost that we have taken into account the military investments of a number of countries, including China. And in the QDR, we have put a real emphasis on ensuring that we have the capabilities we will need in the future to operate effectively on the global commons in anti-access environments. And so you will see very clear investments in long-range strike capabilities, in subsurface warfare, in resiliency of our basing infrastructure.
Madam Secretary, I don't want to interrupt you, but I only have 50 seconds.
In cyber assets, in electronic warfare.
My point is that we have shortfalls in these areas.
I understand.
How would you allocate the resources in a priority 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 between the ones that I've just listed to you, which we all agree are shortfalls?
So I think the prioritization relative across the capabilities is laid out in very great detail in this report.
But, Madam Secretary, that's why you're here. I'm asking you if you can lay it out for me in these priorities that I've given to you. Or do we just simply say, we're not going to do that, we're going to leave it to raw power and how that happens? What are those priorities between the shortfalls that I've given to you, if we can come up with an extra couple $1 billion?
Again, I wouldn't do it by platform. I'd do it by capability to deal with specific risks and challenges. And that's the analysis that we've done. Again, a lot of that gets into very classified arenas. I would like to come back and brief you on exactly those trade-offs and how we've made them. But it's best done with the scenarios and discussion of specific countries and challenges.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.